influence on you.
Fantastic. And welcome back to Curious Faith, questions and conversations for people thinking about following Jesus again. I'm Bill Wallace, and I am the host. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to dive back into these conversations. We had a nice little break there for some vacation and some time away, but we're really super excited about the conversations that we have had now. Catch up if you haven't listened to our latest ones and the ones that we've got coming up here, including our conversation today. I'm very excited about our two guests who absolutely are here, free will of their own accord.
100%.
Thank you
Yes,
so
you bet.
much
For sure.
for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Well, that's
Yes.
good. That's good. Yeah, for those people who might not know who you are, and I would be great if we had some listeners who don't know who the two of you are. Go ahead and share a little of that.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
I will. Thanks. I am Sarah Wallace, and I am Bill's wife, and I am also one of the worship leaders here at Hope.
Yes, awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Brandon, and I am also one of the worship leaders here. I get to lead the other times that Sarah's not.
It's fantastic working with
It
both
is
of you.
fantastic, isn't it? Fantastic.
Fantastic.
It is fantastic.
Super good. I'm so glad I brought both of you on here to
mean, you
mock
asked
me
us.
mercilessly.
You knew.
I am your boss, right? I feel like.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. See how that works out. All right, good. For people that maybe jumping in here new, we try to do a question that just gets us to learn a little bit about each other and sets up a little bit about what we're going to talk about. So, got a question for us to dive in, and as always, I'll answer it first because I thought of it ahead of time. So I get to think about it. These don't have to be your two favorites of all time, but maybe two live concerts that stand out to you as just some of your favorite concert experiences. Because hopefully, again, those are coming back.
Please,
I
God,
know.
Yourself,
make
get
it
That'd be
so.
yourself
amazing.
vaccinated, right?
That would be amazing.
Go and do that. Let's go herd immunity.
Yes.
So yes, two for me. One, you won't be shocked to know, U2. I got to see U2 once live and in person, and it was stellar.
Everything that
Shocking. One of the greatest bands of
Amazing, I'm
all
sure.
time. Also did one of the greatest concerts of all time. After that, I struggle a little bit, try to think of what it might be. It might be, because again, it was so intimate and it really was special, was the Andrew Peterson, Stephen Curtis Chapman concert that I got to watch. Andrew Peterson opened for Stephen Curtis Chapman. Andrew Peterson is my favorite artist of all time. He's a smaller indie
okay.
Christian artist.
Loves him.
I've loved him for 25 years. I've only been able to see him in concert a couple of times. And that one was different, fun, unique.
Was I there?
Yeah.
I don't think I was at either one of those concerts with you.
You were not at the U2 one.
No, it was not the U2 one.
You were in
right?
Spain for that one, but
Well,
yeah.
that's a good trade-off.
Not not bad. But yeah, the Andrew Peterson, Stephen Curtis Chapman one. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Cool. Well, okay, so I've been a Chris Tomlin fan for a long time. That was my go-to worship guy for a long time. I still love him. Not saying that, but but one concert we went to was down at Showware, and we just happened to get like these amazing seats, 10th row, like right there, and the stage jutted out. And remember that one point
Yep.
he came out, and he and his buddy was the acoustics, and they were like right.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, Chris.
Yeah, it was about 5 feet away.
It was
Yeah.
really great, and it was just a great worship experience, great concert. On the secular side, we went to a pretty great Indigo Girls concert.
Ooh, yeah.
that would be fun one
Yeah,
to go to.
they were awesome.
They
that was
were
in Seattle.
amazing.
No, sorry, that was in Phoenix.
That was in Phoenix, yep.
Yeah, that was in Phoenix. That was
Yeah,
they're
still
great.
pretty intimate, maybe 3,000,
Yeah, it wasn't a
4,000.
huge venue,
Yeah.
so it
Okay.
felt really
Yeah.
intimate, and they are just amazing. I love them, so I'd say that one.
Yeah.
Those are my two.
I have a clear number one, and I have a not so clear number two. Like there's two other ones that are vying for my attention.
All right.
But one of them was U2 as well. It was in the Vertigo tour.
Oh, okay.
And so that was when they had that circle, and you had the
Yes.
random lottery of potentially being inside.
In the circle.
I didn't get inside the circle, but I was just like 20 feet away from Bono and
wow.
and
Really?
that station, you know.
Nice.
It was
Wow. I
was
was
ridiculous.
not there. I
Transcendent. And then that one is closely tied to. I went and saw Coldplay in San Diego,
Ooh, I bet
and
they do a
we were
good
way in the
concert.
back, and we were
Yeah.
against this weird railing because there was these 3 squares, and I was like, "What are these?" You know, and we started kind of postulate with my buddy that I was there with, like, I think this is a stage. I think they're coming. And sure enough, like 3/4 of the way through, we're literally on the rails, and they start walking through the crowd, the whole band, and they end up right in front of us. And just, Chris Martin and the guys are just like right there. And they did
Wow.
a cover of, I think, Billie Jean, a Michael Jackson cover,
Oh my gosh.
and a couple other songs. Those are my 2 number 2s that are tied. But my number 1 is I went to go see a band called Dashboard Confessional back in my emo days.
I've heard that.
I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know that.
And so it was my first concert ever, and I drove with my girlfriends and our friends, and we drove all the way. It was like an hour-long drive through South Phoenix to see this concert, and it turns out it was 21 and over, and we were all 17.
No.
We didn't know, and so we drove around the block like a bunch of times and found an alleyway where it backed up to this venue that they were sitting near,
Yeah.
performing outside, and we sat on top of my car, looked over the fence, and watched. So it was kind of movie-esque,
Oh my
So
gosh.
that was my number 1. That was pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool story. Wow. Way to rebel. That's
That's right. I got to see the concert, and I didn't have to pay any money.
Win-win.
perfect. Perfect. So our topic for today, our question for today is, why should the devil have all the good music? And gets to, I think some of what we already just kind of talked about right there. So yes, you two are both here for a couple of different reasons. One, you are the worship leaders here at our church, and so you live this world of Christian music. I do as well, of course, as a pastor, and then also as a musician. Whenever you guys let me play, which isn't very often, but being able to do that, there's so many pieces to that question for me, and I think hopefully for people that might be listening. I try to figure out maybe what was the best combination of people to have. Like, I kind of wanted someone to be part of this conversation that just listens to death metal, and doesn't actually have any idea about Christian music. But I thought hopefully we could speak to kind of this on a lot of different levels. How do we, particularly in our world today, how do we talk about music? How do we share music? How do we do music that's good, that actually people might want to listen to? What do we say about music that isn't quote unquote Christian? All those things like that. And we've only got about half hour, so
Sure.
we'll get to maybe one of those questions. But first off, if I were to ask you what defines Christian music, how might you answer that? How might you respond to that, if at all?
Right? That's hard.
Well, I mean, I kind of view it in like an art sense. Like, there's plenty of good art that can bring you closer to the divine, right? So whether it's labeled in the Christian market as Christian music or not, there's plenty of songs, there's plenty of art that isn't Christian that still does what would happen on a Sunday morning here or something like that. So I think it's probably just easier for our human brains to say, like, oh, this is Christian music and this is secular music, and I don't really view it that way personally.
No, I agree, and I think that society has done that too. We have Christian radio stations.
Yep.
And then we have, pop radio stations, and every once in a while, like, you hear a Lauren Daigle song. Like, she's the one that I think of because,
Yeah, the
she's a
current one,
Christian
yeah.
artist.
She'll catch some heat.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, her current hits on the pop station,
Right.
It's like, whoa, crossover.
That's why all the Christians freaked
crossover.
out in 2005 when Switchfoot, like,
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's, right?
You
Yeah,
know?
you hear them. every
Dare
once
me
in
to
a-
move? Wait.
Yeah.
yeah.
And why is it that we define it that way? Why is it that, even in your question, why does the devil get all the good music? I mean, I know you're being a little tongue-in-cheek about it, but, the
To be
implication.
clear, yes.
Yeah. I know you don't think that anything
Yes.
Christian, that secular music is from the devil. But there's that stigma, I guess, because a lot of Christians growing up weren't allowed to listen to anything but Christian music. I don't know if that's as true now, but I hear people say that from maybe our generation and older,
Well, and that is part of the reason why, actually, I wanted to target, at some level, honestly, our age range, our bracket, because we really did grow up with a level of contemporary Christian music that hadn't existed before. There was, of course, always Christian music out there, but there were hymns, and there was kind of a traditional church music, and then thanks to, I'm truly, all joking aside, Amy Grant, Michael W. Smith, and then, boy, a whole flood after them.
Oh, yeah.
There became a genre of music that, we could listen to just Christian music for really the first time. And you could hear rap with DC Talk.
Yeah.
You could hear swing with the
guys,
W's.
man. Yeah.
You could hear all that stuff that no one before us really had that chance. And I think because of that, our generation, we're having a different conversation than maybe we had before, and it's really interesting.
It sure is.
Yeah, but so there was a time where I was only listening. I will say there was a time where I was only listening to quote unquote Christian music, as it was probably be defined. Only show up on a Christian station. That's not where I land now.
I mean, there's plenty of Taylor Swift references through messages, so I only assumed.
I think the audience should know what you're listening to, and actually, it's not usually Taylor
I
Swift
spend a very
at the
small
moment.
amount of time listening to Christian music. My job, I get to investigate some of that stuff, but I would say the majority of it I miss probably. But I also don't listen to Christian radio either. So that's another thing that I wonder, because there's times where I'm like, if I introduce a new song on a Sunday morning, I wonder how many times people have heard this on the radio. It's probably a significant amount, but I just don't.
I could probably tell you.
Yeah.
Because I do still listen to that. And partly, honestly, it's partly because I don't have, in my car, I don't have the Bluetooth capability to listen to Spotify. So I'm kind of stuck on the radio stations. And if I'm alone, I'll have the Christian radio stations. And there's 3 that I kind of hop between. But I hop so much because they play the same thing over and over and over. And I think that, for kids, and I think about our children a lot because we have teenagers and early 20-year-olds, they don't want to listen to it. They don't want to listen to Christian music right now because it's dull for them. They're like, it's
how does it
same
relate to
thing.
me?
Yeah, and I think, oh my gosh, we're not doing a very good job if we want our young kids to find really relevant Christian music to listen to.
Yeah, engaging.
Who's the guy that the boys really like? That Christian rapper?
Oh, Lecrae.
Lecrae. Yeah. They saw him in concert, they heard him, and I think they still really like his stuff.
Yeah.
But when you turn on the Christian radio station, they don't play
Never hear
Lecrae.
Lecrae. Nope.
Which is unfortunate because that's a style of music that can cross over. The
Right.
lyrics are
Well, the lyrics are actually very
Great.
real too.
Absolutely.
yeah,
is-
they're not
is part of-
touchy-feely.
yeah.
But you also have to look too, because I follow him on Twitter, and he is involved in what's happening in the world right now.
Yeah.
And I think so much of, we'll just stay in the music area.
Sure,
no one's touching that stuff, and it's important to. I mean, I live in a house that has a few 20-year-olds and a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old, and there's the things that are happening in life right now that we're broadcasting all over TV are important, and so I think him having a voice in that brings people along. You can no longer just put out a track and put it on the radio and be a Christian hit. I mean, obviously it's definitely still possible, but I think for that younger generation, they want to see how you're going to back up the talk that you have within the message of your music.
Yep. And I would agree. For me, part of what, I just first got excited about from Christian music was that it was new and it was different. There hadn't been that before, and it was fun to listen to all of them. And then for me, when the message both got the same and when the message seemed to be a little divorced from the world that I was living in, it mattered to me a little less. It was harder for me to follow along. It is why, again, not to plug him continually, but Andrew Peterson Andrew Peterson continues to speak to me because he has always been that independent Christian artist. He's been on a label every now and then, and the label's really tried. Yeah, I really do think they've tried.
Sure.
But he doesn't get traction with the broader audience because he's not speaking to that broader. He speaks out of his world. He speaks out of his pain. He speaks to some of the Bible stories that don't get written about a whole lot. and that is why there are very few artists that I continue to listen to after 25 years. That's probably just true for, most artists. You can only do so long. U2 actually is one of them. Andrew Peterson is another because he continues to write something new and continues just to live in the world that he's in.
Mm-hmm. Well, and unfortunately, some Christian artists who have tried to speak to what's going on in the world around them and be a little more real have been a little ostracized by the Christian community, the Christian music community, especially. I think of Gungor. I don't know if you listen to Gungor much, but we really love their stuff, and then they pushed the envelope.
Yes, they did.
And
they are out.
They were gone. Nobody would play them anymore.
That was true of Lecrae too. He was starting to get a little more traction, and then started to speak, just to name it, particularly to the Black Lives Movement. And any traction that he had, all of a sudden got shut down. Boom.
It obviously is a large commentary on, the hypocrisy that lives within our Christian world. We can't ignore that fact. We have to embrace that. Say that's part of our world, unfortunately. But same thing with remember the band Caedmon's Call?
Yes.
Derek Webb. Same guy.
Really liked him.
Really great dude. Seems really smart. Has a really, really deep desire to be honest and authentic. And it's unfortunate because it feels like if we were to be people that followed the words of Jesus, we wouldn't operate in a way that says, "Hey, you're out." We should be the best at going to the fringes, like Jesus did, and bring people in. But instead, we say, "Oh, you don't say the words that we like." So, sorry, bud. That's just makes me sad.
Yeah,
it does.
I hear you. And then it is fascinating because when we see quote unquote secular artists, musical artists, start to dip into issues of faith or issues of the world, particularly when we as Christians like those and agree with that, we're all for it. We're all on board. Hey, isn't that great? See, they're coming to us. We're pulling them in somehow.
Look at our gravitational force.
The Death Star, tractor beam has got them and is pulling them in. Whereas, when Christians start to push the envelope, we keep pushing them. Oh, then out you go. Right? It seems almost reversed from that standpoint.
It really doesn't make any sense.
That's actually super frustrating.
So how can we we'll bring it into our world. How can we, within our families, within our friend groups, and honestly within our church, how do we speak to that? How do we do a good job of modeling something maybe that we think is a little bit different than that?
Oof. Yeah. That's a good question. I think my answer to a lot of questions in that vein is authenticity. I have always, from being on stage, whatever weekend it is, it's like it feels wrong to not bring my week into the morning, whether my week was good or bad. And I've been leading worship for like 20 years now, which is weird to say.
Because you're not that old.
But I've been doing it for a long time, and not to like tout, but I think one of the strengths is I bring authenticity to the position and to a Sunday morning. I'm saying like, hey, this week was great, or this week was hard, or and being able to lead through that and say like, there's probably plenty of people in this room. And I think we get off track when we try to appease and we lose authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And especially younger generations, they can see when something is not authentic so much faster.
Yep. Completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that happens when they listen to Christian radio, and it's all, it doesn't always feel authentic, I guess,
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well,
not that there aren't great songs out there,
no,
of course.
no,
I mean,
I agree. But I think that speaks when we come together on a Sunday morning. If all we ever sing is happy, joy, joy.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is that's not how we have all felt during the week, and obviously there's a place for that, and particularly with the Jesus message. Part of what we want people to hear is that there is joy, there is authentic joy because of this message, but it's joy because of the real world that we've lived in.
Yeah, because of the suffering, because of the pain, we know that there is good.
Yeah. And if we're somehow not acknowledging that with our music, all of our music, then there's a real
Or
loss
any
to
good
that.
art. I mean, when you
Yes.
see good art that encompasses the darkness with the light, it makes it that much more beautiful.
Yeah, I get that. So that's good. Then I struggle a little bit. I have a hard time with. And all right, how do we embrace that? How do we welcome that? I'll name kind of one of mine that's been a good challenge for me. Billie Eilish is a challenging artist for me. I heard a couple of her songs early on and just was really turned off by them. And then we watched the documentary about her, and two things for me were really challenging about that. One, I really listened to the music, and musically I was impressed.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there. Again, as a musician and as someone who just generally tries to appreciate good music, I was like, okay, wait, there's some cool
they know what
stuff.
they're doing.
Yeah, going on here. And two, you cannot deny that she speaks to a generation that I might not speak to as well.
Oh, yeah.
And
our 14-year-old is obsessed with Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
She loves her.
loves her,
Loves her.
the music, and there's a part of her message that speaks to our 14-year-old in a way, that I bet I don't very often on a Sunday morning.
But then what,
So what do we do with that?
I mean, and I feel like it's almost two different conversations too when we talk about like Christian music versus secular music. But then what we do on Sunday morning, I mean, is clearly different than you're not going to bring in do you want me to cover a Billie Eilish song next
Billie
Sunday?
Eilish
Like,
song,
I mean,
You could do that song that talks about taking Xannies.
I mean, I was going to, but I don't know.
Here's in the
Moving
wrong
in a
key.
different direction. Yeah, exactly. I just couldn't hit those high notes. But I just, I mean, is that what we're talking about?
Right,
Bringing that music into a Sunday morning? Or, I mean, I don't think anybody expects that. I think, average churchgoer doesn't expect to come in Sunday morning and hear a song that they've, heard on the radio. I mean, we ask if that's okay or not. I think, again, it comes back to, but is what we're doing here on a Sunday morning, even though the music is clearly not what they listen to or hear. I think you're right. I think it comes back to authenticity. Is what we are presenting as worship songs, does it resonate with the congregation? And we're not just up here playing, songs that, yay, God is so good. And I mean, there's the time for those, but
Absolutely.
recognizing also that it's not the world that we live in all the time. But anyway, I guess I'm just saying I'm not sure where we're going with the thought.
It gets to that, and it gets to again for us. One of my wins as a parent, and I think we've talked about this since I'm talking about one of our children.
back you, sure.
But in case not, I remember with great joy hearing a song, a Maroon 5 song, with our third child, and Risa saying as we were listening, "Can we switch the song just about sex?" And feeling again as a parental win that Risa was not interested in the song and yet knew exactly what the song was about. Like, was able just to track and didn't, just wasn't Risa's thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's awesome that I feel like I've raised a kid to be able to hear and to make their own choice within that as well.
Well,
would Reese have made that same choice if we only ever listened to Christian music,
And I was going to say that. I mean, you do this really, really well, and I think this is something that parents, it's important to listen to the music, be aware of the music your kids are listening to. I mean, you always know at least what, and I know now because every time Sage, our 14-year-old, gets in the car, she calls shotgun so that she can control the radio station. So I listen to all this pop music, and she will change the station sometimes when she's like, "This song isn't appropriate, Mom." Like, for me, probably not.
Thanks for looking out for me, kid.
I appreciate that. That was uncomfortable. But it is good though to know what they're listening to. What they like too.
Yeah.
What is it that, draws them to the music? And I know with our 14-year-old, it's when it is about relationships and feelings and, kind of like her
That's the
world.
draw?
And yeah,
it really is for her.
Yeah.
So Billie Eilish probably fits in perfectly.
right
'cause
there.
There's no dressing up or down Billie, like, it's because I watched the documentary too. She is dedicated to her heart.
Yeah.
And in so doing, that comes out in everything that she does.
Yeah.
So that authenticity piece for
Again,
a
with
crew
that,
that old. Yeah.
And for young kids, they identify. She's speaking what they are thinking and feeling. And
I agree. And actually, I can think of a few other artists, and I won't necessarily disparage them, where they've had a couple of pop hits and our kids have listened to them, but as they listen to more, the authenticity didn't come out. It was just a pop hit, and they're like, I've moved on.
Yeah, it was catchy for the time.
Yeah.
It cracks me up.
And it's hard to think about, I can't divorce myself from the idea of Christian music and having a hit. Like, if the idea is to put musical language to, what you find in the Bible, you can't not be authentic. Like, if you're outside of the Christian world, sure, you probably could. If your goal is to get a hit and make some cash, people do it every day.
Yep.
But if you're supposed to be a Christian artist that is trying to do this thing, like, you can't not be authentic. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
True.
Or, I guess the few times that we've seen that has happened, it does. It comes crashing down, that's...
True.
Again, on all levels, pastors, music artists, all that. When those pastors with that inauthenticity, you can fake it for a while, but not forever.
Yeah.
Good conversation. Thanks so much. Was there anything that we didn't necessarily touch on that you were thinking maybe we might, or
we didn't talk about Taylor Swift as
we
nearly
did
as
not
much
talk
as I
about
thought
Taylor
we would.
Swift nearly.
No, nor did K-pop come up one time.
That's right. There was no mention of
Which
any
I don't think that we could end this without
K-pop.
Without a little shout out to
K-pop.
BTS.
Your favorite band of all time.
BTS.
They- I listen to
pretty awesome.
Between BTS and T Swift, they will absolutely end up in Spotify as probably my number one and number two. I'm not sure which one.
Wild.
Yeah,
He's in a weird,
That is wild.
eclectic kind
I
of.
am. I'm really liking Day 6. They're a K-pop group that actually is a band as well. Most of
they
them.
play?
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
that's new.
Yeah.
Most of them
So
just sing and dance.
If you're interested,
really good
yeah,
dancers,
Sweet
but-
Chaos, Day 6. It's
You guys
it's
will be on the
bop.
podcast next week.
Yeah.
I know. But you did. I mean, again, though, talking about with kids, you did steer our 14-year-old to K-pop because she was so into pop music. But a lot of the stuff she was listening to was really, this was a couple years ago, and she
Especially,
was
yeah.
not mature enough to be listening to some of the
No.
lyrics and
a
things
fair
like
amount
that.
of it was dark, quite honestly.
Yeah,
It
that's
really
true too.
was.
So he's like, "Hey, you should listen to K-pop," and she kind of rolled her eyes. She literally rolled her eyes.
Yes.
And then
As hard as she could.
started listening to it, and now she's addicted. And the lyrics are
They are there.
on the
yeah,
whole
BTS
pretty
truly
clean
is
and
an incredibly
encouraging
positive
too.
group, very
Yeah.
positive, encouraging group.
Yeah.
And they are the biggest band in the world, which is really cool.
Are they there now?
They
Is that-
are.
Is that what
And
it is?
They're the biggest band in the world.
I mean,
I've never listened to a single song.
Really?
Not
you
one.
haven't heard Dynamite?
I don't even know.
You-
what
We're
that
just gonna
is.
start
really-
singing
yeah,
it
they-
right now. We're just
Okay,
Yeah, well,
go for it.
we gotta bring you in.
Okay.
Slowly,
All right.
slowly reel you in. They are. I will admit. Yeah, they're
good.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Man, I'm gonna have to check it
I'm
out.
Army. Hashtag Army. Let's.
Man, you are in. You are in.
Yes.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, thank you both truly for being a part
Pleasure.
of
Yeah,
this
good to be
conversation,
here.
and yeah, you're again truly your honesty within it. I think that was kind of the point, that when we're having this type of conversation, all kidding aside, that if it's not an honest one, then that's just going to prove the point, isn't it?
Yeah. Right.
So thank you. Hope you both come back for our conversation specifically about K-pop. That'll be next
do
week.
my
You got
research.
a lot of music to listen to between
There's
now
a
and
lot
then.
to
For all the rest of you, yes, thank you so much for listening or for watching as well. Join us for some upcoming conversations. We're going to have a ton of fun talking about some stuff, that I think you all will really enjoy. But if there's anything that you want us to talk about, put that in the chat. Let us know, drop us a line, and we'll add that to our conversation as well. We'll see you back here next time. And until then, thanks for watching.